Hello again. Thanks for joining me. Just the word cancer is so upsetting. I've had too many friends die of cancer and have friends who live with cancer in remission on a day-to-day basis. About 30 years ago, I had a tiny brush with cancer. The word got stuck in my head and freaked me out. I'm so appreciative and grateful that it was all taken care of and got over with just surgery. At that time, I didn't know that we do have some control over some cancers. According to the World Health Organization, approximately 1/3 of cancer cases are preventable. The American Institute for Cancer Research estimates that an estimated 340,000 cancer cases per year can be prevented with a healthy diet, physical activity, and a consistent, healthy weight. In this session, you're going to learn of incredible research and hear some amazing stories of cancer remission due to healthy plant-based diet, exercise, and a healthy lifestyle. We can deal with the hand that we've been dealt. To begin with, let's start out with a brief description of cancer, causes of cancer, and the effects of protein on cancer growth. We'll touch upon physician training as well. This entire session lasts about 40 minutes, and I'll pop back in 3 times to highlight important points and recap. I hope you remembered to review the questions for reflection and discussion first to activate your brain for new learning. Now get out your notebook, grab a glass of water and a healthy snack, and get ready to learn. Let's go. We have completed our overview of heart disease, other chronic diseases, obesity, and diabetes. Now we'll move into talking about cancer, which justifiably increases the level of personal terror in our hearts and minds. There are no guarantees when it comes to cancer. We've learned a lot, yet there is still a lot we don't know. Scientists all over the world are working hard to learn more. The following information is based upon scientific research and personal anecdotes. If you or a loved one has cancer, just do the best you can. Read, learn, and keep an open mind. Some of the stories you'll learn about here are pretty amazing. A plant-based vegan diet has been proven to work. So you could just do it. What have you got to lose? We already know that a plant-based diet will increase our overall good health and wellness. Let's back up for a minute. What exactly is cancer? Cancer is a process of cell growth that occurs in 3 stages. Number 1, initiation. Number 2, promotion. Number 3, progression. It can take years for a noticeable tumor to develop. Inhibitors, like a healthy lifestyle, can keep a tumor from growing, while promoters accelerate the rate of growth. The early growth of many cancers is invisible because we're talking about microscopic sized cells. Doctors can't even see a tumor until it's about 1 millimeter in size. That's the size of 3 grains of salt, or the head of a pin. Tiny! And that could contain 1 million cells. Dr. Welch, a professor at Dartmouth Medical School, says that some cancers can be like turtles. Slow-moving, slow-growing, not going anywhere. Some cancers are like rabbits and quickly multiply like cervical and colon cancer. And some aggressive cancers are like birds. They fly away before you can catch them at the source. Well, what is the cause of cancer? Causes include chemicals, viruses, radiation, stress, nutritional imbalances, and genetics. The National Cancer Institute states that 50 to 75% of all cancer deaths are due to smoking, physical inactivity, and poor diet, and thus are preventable. Dr. Greger also likes to point out that the National Cancer Institute is worried about telling people not to eat meat, though, because the meat industry would suffer. Well, what about our suffering? We all have loved ones who have suffered from cancer. And as we know, industry has a determined focus on increasing industry profits at the expense of our personal lives and well-being. But let's get back to prevention. There are estimates that 30% of cancer is due to smoking, while 35 to 50% is due to obesity alone. Now that is preventable. Researchers all over the globe have studied protein and cancer for decades. Everyone thought getting lots of animal protein to eat was a really good thing. Protein was king of nutrients. Young Professor Campbell went to the Philippines to work with malnourished children. The prevailing view was that malnourished children weren't getting enough protein. He was supposed to help them get more protein. Everyone thought the difference between rich and poor countries centered on protein consumption. While there, however, he discovered there were higher than normal rates of liver cancer among children. Why was there so much cancer among children? It was a big surprise when Professor Campbell found higher incidences of liver cancer among children of affluence, more than children of poverty. The children who ate milk and meat, a Western diet, had the liver cancer. This blew Professor Campbell's mind and everyone else's. How could this be? The question became, does higher protein and animal protein intake create health? Campbell found out about research from the 1960s in India that helped him think about what he was seeing. Indian researchers also thought animal protein would protect against cancer. Well, everybody did. Another big surprise. Working with rats, the Indian researchers found 100% of rats fed casein, and that's a protein from cow's milk, 100% got cancer. None of the rats not fed the casein, the protein from cow's milk, got cancer. Moreover, the rats' cancer's lesions healed when the rats stopped eating casein, that animal protein. The researchers discovered they could turn cancer on and off. This turned Campbell's head around. This evidence challenged everything he had been taught. The evidence was so clear, so astonishing. How could he not go forward to learn more about animal protein and cancer? Well, he did, thank goodness, and we continue to talk about it today. Do read his best-selling book, The China Study, for more information. Talking about animal protein affecting cancer growth can fall on deaf ears among the medical community, despite the book, The China Study, selling over 1 million copies. Medical training in nutrition is not something most people think about. Please note that 94% of physicians feel that nutrition should be part of primary care visits. However, only 14% of doctors feel qualified to talk about nutrition with their patients. Only 27% of medical schools provide the required 25 hours of nutrition education, which leaves 73% of medical schools not offering much nutrition education at all. Does that make any sense when so many of our diseases are preventable? Unfortunately, many doctors have not been trained and don't have financial incentives to prescribe dietary changes to their patients. Dr. Ornish even tried to get the medical profession to change by paying doctors to learn and practice lifestyle medicine. His bill, called the Take Back Your Health Act, died in the 2009 U.S. Senate. Many doctors receive money from various companies for surgically implanting medical devices and prescribing medications. They can receive more of a paycheck from prescribing more tests than for showing good results in patients' health. Physicians own shares in surgery centers, home health care agencies, for-profit hospitals, and imaging centers. The big money in medicine is from the corporate side. Some physicians are simply more interested in the business of medicine than medicine itself. This quest for more dollars at the expense of our physical and financial health is troubling. It's also troubling that physicians are not trained or qualified to talk about nutrition when what we eat makes such a difference in our lives. Continuing in our conversation about cancer and nutrition, scientists traditionally study carcinogens and genes more often than nutrition. What are the 3 stages of cancer again? Cancer is a process of cell growth that goes in 3 stages: initiation, promotion, and progression. Diets that are low in dietary protein, like a plant-based diet, decreases the initiation and promotion of cancer cell growth. Dr. Campbell's research indicates the effects on promotion are the most important. Nutritional activity during the promotional, that's the second stage, suggests that cancer developments can be controlled, if not reversed, by nutritional means. Remember, he was able to turn on and off the growth of cancer cells in rats over and over again with casein and animal milk protein. Dr. Greger talks about this too. He recently attributed the cancer-promoting growth hormone, called insulin-like growth factor 1, to be critical to the growth of cancer. The insulin-like growth factor 1 is much lower in people on a plant-based diet, which leads to much less cancer growth. Another dramatic example of the power of plants is to look at breast cancer rates across the world. The correlation of animal protein to total fat is 90%. So, the more animals you eat, the more fat you eat. Looking at global breast cancer rates, you can clearly see that the more a country eats animals, the higher their rates of breast cancer. Thailand and El Salvador are at the bottom of the list, while the Netherlands, Denmark, and the UK are at the top. When you study the cancer rates of whole countries, you can see the patterns, and the evidence is clearly astonishing.
Statistics and facts are powerful, as are the stories people tell. Sometimes the stories are more meaningful, though, than the factual information because we can relate to it. We can understand it and feel emotionally connected to the person involved. This next section are stories from people who are either treating cancer or battling cancer. There's many powerful stories out there that tell us how ordinary people fought and won their battle with cancer via a healthy plant-based lifestyle.
Let's leave some of the facts and statistics aside for a few minutes for some stories about real people who have fought and won the battle with cancer. Like the facts and numbers we've talked about, these stories are also quite astonishing. First, Dr. Kelly, then Jessica, Annalise, Ruth, and Patty. Dr. Kelly is a general practitioner who works on the north side of Dublin, Ireland. He's been in practice for decades. Dr. Kelly's book, Stop Feeding Your Cancer, tells the story how his patient's cancer was stopped and/or reversed. The essence of this transformation from poor health to great health is that animal protein feeds the growth of cancer cells. Cancer cells need to have protein to divide and grow. Alternatively, we can starve the cancer cells with a plant-based diet, which is naturally lower in protein and fat than an animal-based diet. Dr. Kelly gave his patients Professor Campbell's book, The China Study, and encouraged them. He didn't force anyone to do anything. He simply supported and inspired them. Some of his patients did continue with their traditional cancer treatments. His role was to gently encourage, listen, and record their experiences. All the patients who got off animal protein found their cancer stopped growing and spreading. The tumors became dormant, and some reduced in size. The patients who eventually went back to an animal-based diet found their tumors growing and spreading again. This book details the case studies of his patients with prostate, lung, colon, bowel, brain, and other cancers over a 10-year period. Dr. Kelly also discusses various experts in surgery, chemotherapy, oncology, and radiation who dismiss his work and that of other plant-based physicians, thinking it's just too simple. Despite not very good success rates with traditional therapies, their horrible side effects, and people's adverse reactions to the cancer treatment itself, some traditional doctors are stuck in their thinking. If you or a loved one has cancer, read Dr. Kelly's book and see what you think for yourself. Eat more plant-based food as you continue to learn more. Take the risk of feeling fabulous. Jessica Bowen has an amazing story that starts out as a heartbreaker. I'm so grateful she shared this on Dr. McDougall's website. In 2011, at age 29, she and her husband were trying to start a family. Shortly after her second miscarriage, Jessica was diagnosed with aggressive stage 3 invasive ductal carcinoma breast cancer. I can't even imagine how she felt, how her world collapsed. Everything changed in a heartbeat for Jessica, her husband, and extended family. She went through chemotherapy and gained 50 pounds. She experienced extreme fatigue, painful body aches, painful constipation, hot flashes, night sweats, nausea, acid reflux, mental fog, and had no energy. These are just some of the horrible side effects of cancer treatment. After some time, Jessica learned about plant-based nutrition. After study and reflection, she decided that she would make my body a hostile environment for cancer. Now, all scans and blood work indicate she is cancer-free. Jessica writes, "If I can make the change from being a sick, bloated, 100-pound, overweight, medicated, stage 3 cancer patient to a thriving, healthy, cancer-free woman on a whole foods vegan diet with a complete lifestyle change, anyone can. You just have to make the decision and stick to it. It takes one day at a time." I love her words of inspiration and admire her for her honesty sharing her story. Seeing her before and after photos is pretty cool, isn't it? Annalise Moore was a breast cancer survivor for 32 years. Annalise grew up in Germany at the beginning of World War I. Her family, like most people, were lucky to be able to eat potatoes, rye bread, and vegetables. After living through the extreme hardships of wartime Europe, after World War II, she and her husband moved to the U.S. and ate more meat, because that's what Americans did. She said it was a dream come true. At age 50, she and her doctor thought she could stay more youthful if she took estrogen, specifically Premarin. At age 67, she discovered a lump in her breast. This was in 1980. She refused a mastectomy and started on the vegan, plant-based journey. She was a committed advocate for a whole food plant-based diet for the rest of her life. Annalise died at age 97 after a brief illness. She remained cancer-free for 32 years with a simple vegan diet and never had that mastectomy. Ruth Heydrich has a really remarkable story about how she defeated cancer, arthritis, and osteoporosis all at once. This story is even more incredible because she thought she was so fit, so healthy, and her cancer was so advanced when diagnosed. Before she was diagnosed, Ruth was a daily runner for 14 years. She ate lean chicken, fish, and low-fat dairy. She thought she was super healthy. In 1982, she was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer when doctors found a lump the size of a golf ball in her breast. Unfortunately, this cancer also involved her bones and one lung. After surgery to have the lump removed, she signed up to be part of Dr. McDougall's medical research and went completely vegan, completely whole food, plant-based. She decided against radiation and chemotherapy. By 1999, Ruth was awarded one of the 10 fittest women in the United States. She had completed 6 Ironman events, 67 marathons, and earned 800 racing trophies. Ruth's bone density even increased with her plant-based diet, and she was able to give up her arthritis medication, naproxen. Now, 33 years later, Ruth is still cancer-free. Read more about her remarkable story in her book, A Race for Life. What an inspiration to go from metastatic breast cancer to cancer-free for 33 years, simply by eating vegan foods and exercising. Wow. Our last story is about Patty, which I found so interesting because she was also so very careful about what she ate. She thought she was being attentive and smart. Patty was diagnosed with breast cancer at age 41. She ate mostly organic vegetables, meat, fish, and eggs, but only if they were free-range, wild-caught, or organic. Her mom died during cancer treatments when Patty was 12, so she was extra careful about her exposure to toxins. Having a mom die at age 12 changes you forever. Finally, after a time of confusion about what treatments to pursue and what to eat, she read the book, The China Study, and became committed to a vegan diet. Now Patty is thriving. She says the health benefits to a whole food, plant-based diet are profound. She's in excellent health. She can run and bike longer and faster, plus her recovery time is faster too. So what is it about these stories? What is behind their cancer remission?
I find these stories so affirming and hopeful. Each person bravely took their health in their own hands. They worked with their doctors, not for their doctors. Like my husband with his heart attack, he made informed decisions. He was committed to certain actions and wasn't going to get swept up in medical treatment that made him feel terrible and sick and didn't even get to the root of the problem. That was his well-researched choice. There's foods that affect cancer, both positively and negatively, which we're going to talk about next. Certain plant-based foods are powerful cancer fighters. It's important to remember, however, that we can't just give up meat and dairy. We have to add lots of fruit and veggies every day because of their powerful punch. So think of plant-based foods as protective. Now that's easy to remember. Plants are protective. Plants are protective. Plants are protective. Now you say that 3 times.
Eating animal fat promotes cancer. Remember, this is the second stage of cancer growth. First, there's initiation, then promotion, then progression or growth. Eating animal fat, which is inherent in all animal-based protein, promotes cancer growth. When you look at different whole countries' death rates, you're looking at a lot of people. The countries with the highest levels of animal fat consumption have the highest rates of death from colon and breast cancer. Researchers indicate that high levels of meat consumption increases colon cancer rates by 300%. Colon cancer is more associated with meat consumption than any other dietary factor due to very low fiber intake. Remember that animal-based foods don't have any fiber, only plants do. Failure to regularly eat vegetables raises the risk of cancer by 400%. It's a double whammy. Eating animals is unhealthy, and not eating fruits and vegetables is unhealthy too. You can easily change this. The best cancer-fighting vegetables to eat are cruciferous, like bok choy, broccoli, Brussels sprout, cabbage, cauliflower, collards, kale, and radishes. They're all full of cancer-fighting power. In 144 human studies, scientists indicate that plants offer a protective effect against cancer. Why? Plants are lower in fat and higher in fiber. Plants also contain cancer-fighting phytochemicals, antioxidants, and many nutrients. We've talked about obesity quite a bit, and being overweight affects our risk for cancer. Look at the graphic below and see the various sizes of the men and their corresponding percentage of body mass index. Look for the BMI directly above each man. I can see where I fall on the spectrum. Can you? Obesity is specifically associated with elevated risks of breast, colon, rectum, endometrium, esophagus, gallbladder, kidney, pancreas, thyroid, and other cancer types, as well as heart disease, diabetes, and other chronic illnesses, as we've discussed. Now, researchers have also noted that it's essential to reduce these calorie-dense foods, animal-based proteins, versus simply adding fruit and vegetables. So that means instead of simply adding a salad to your hamburger and fries meal, eat a plant-based garden burger and salad, and then instead of fries, have roasted potatoes or roasted vegetables. There's many simple things you can do to become and stay healthy. Let's talk more about the protective quality of plants. All plant-based foods are full of protective qualities like fiber, phytochemicals, and antioxidants. Fiber is essential to keep our food moving along through our body. We want our food waste to get out of our bodies. As you can imagine, low fiber diets can lead to severe GI distress and diseases, while people on a plant-based diet are just regularly happy We also need and want antioxidants. These are the good guys. Antioxidants are important elements that help our bodies fight dangerous free radicals. Free radicals are highly reactive and have the potential to cause damage to cells, including damage that may lead to cancer. Phytochemicals are found in plant-based foods such as fruits, vegetables, beans, and grains. There are thousands of phytochemicals, although only a few have been studied closely. Plant-based foods are protective powerhouses of healthy nutrition. Plants even lead to an increase in our healthy intestinal bacteria and reduce our risk for cancer. Yeah, we want healthy bacteria in our intestines. These are the good guys who help us digest and absorb nutrients, synthesize vitamins, fight against toxins and carcinogens, as well as regulate our metabolism. For example, we want to include more Jerusalem artichokes, bananas, polenta, broccoli, kale and cauliflower too, blueberries, beans, and fermented foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, tempeh, and soy sauce. This is pretty amazing. A new study reveals that when African Americans and rural South Africans switched their diets for just 2 weeks, the participants' colonoscopies revealed staggering changes in intestinal bacteria. The rural South Africans, who switched to a cheese-meat diet, had changes to their intestines indicating high risk for colon cancer. The participants from Pittsburgh had the opposite. They ate a plant-based diet and had a reduction in their risk for colon cancer. Each year, 150,000 Americans are diagnosed with colon cancer. Just remember that fruits and veggies have all that good fiber, antioxidants, vitamins, and phytochemicals. Plants are packed with healthy nutrition. But what about supplements? Do we need to take supplements? 2 decades worth of research studying over 300,000 people found that supplements can actually make a person more likely to develop some cancers. Scientists wanted to learn if taking supplements had the same good effects on health as eating fruits and vegetables. Well, the answer is no. However, the scientists still don't know why that's happening on a molecular level. High doses of beta-carotene increase the risk for lung cancer. High doses of selenium increase the risk for skin cancer. High doses of vitamin E elevate the risk for prostate cancer. Many say supplements have no benefit whatsoever and are a waste of money. There is no substitute for good nutritional food. So yes, it's better to eat the fresh fruits and veggies instead of taking supplements. Spend your money wisely on safe foods. Another issue with supplements is that they're not regulated. The industry markets supplements as health promoting and part of the battle against cancer, when indeed we may not even know what's in them. We'll continue to talk more about supplements, when we talk about what to eat. Many of us drink alcohol, but some of us drink too much. About 10% of us are serious problem drinkers. Drinking can cause cancer and heart disease. Not surprisingly, the more we drink, the higher the risk. We know that drinking during pregnancy, binge drinking, and heavy drinking lead to serious problems. In 2014, the World Cancer Report conducted a huge meta-study analyzing 222 studies involving 92,000 light drinkers and 60,000 non-drinkers to confirm these findings. Scientists don't use the word causal very often. There has to be a lot of very high-level research to use that term. Usually the term is indicates. So yes, there are causal links between alcohol usage and cancer of the esophagus, mouth, pharynx, larynx, colon, rectum, liver, and female breast. Avoidance of drinking and smoking prevent 80% of oral and 90% of laryngeal cancer. Other cancers like pancreatic, leukemia, and cervical cancer have links to alcohol and need further study. Alcohol contains 15 carcinogenic compounds, and they have names I can't even pronounce. You may have heard of ethanol. It's the most important carcinogen in alcoholic beverages, and the rate of ethanol metabolism is genetically determined. Back in the early 1990s, there was all that news about the French paradox that described how red wine, full of healthy antioxidants, is associated with protecting our heart, reducing the risk of heart attack and the clotting kind of stroke. Yet, heavy drinking can also cause hypertension, arterial fibrillation, ischemic stroke, that's the bleeding type of stroke, and non-ischemic dilated cardiomyopathy. What? Well, this is the paradox. Keep in mind that traditionally the French eat differently than we do. They drink red wine with their meals, and they don't binge with heavy drinking. They don't snack, they eat slowly, and they don't eat many processed foods. Heavy drinking is also associated with poor nutritional choices, which further depletes our system. Heavy drinking is not part of a healthy lifestyle. Heavy drinking can lead to drunk driving, domestic violence, sexual assault, and overall poor decision-making. Simply limit intake to 1 to 2 drinks a day and do your best to take 1 to 2 days off each week to rest the liver. Drinking and smoking often go hand in hand. Currently, 42 million Americans smoke. That's 15% of women and 21% of men. Now, most everyone knows that smoking is bad for you. That's old news. Smoking is responsible for 500,000 deaths per year in the U.S., from 21 diseases like emphysema and COPD, and 12 different cancers. Recently, a new study investigated an estimated 1 million people over a 10-year period, and the new bad news is that smoking is also responsible for increased risk of infection, kidney disease, intestinal disease caused by reduced blood flow, and heart-lung diseases not previously attributed to smoking. Researchers feel extremely confident of these results. So, if you're smoking, make a strong effort to give it up. Smoking is extremely addicting, and it's hard to quit, but worth it. Research indicates that nicotine replacement therapies of gum and patches work well and gradually help people stop a long-time smoking habit. The medication also works well, so please talk with your doctor if you're interested.
Smoking, drinking too much, and eating an animal-based diet are a fast track to poor health. They're also considered by many as part of the good life, what we see on TV and in the movies. What people yearn to be able to do. I mean, think about it. Fancy restaurants, lavish animal-based meals, big steaks, creamy desserts, expensive cigars and wines. It all sounds very glamorous until we end up feeling terrible with excess weight, a chronic preventable disease, or even in the hospital. We need to change that vision of the good life to be healthy, active, fit, and feeling fabulous. We need to create a new normal of the good life, which we can all achieve. We're not bound by our families and our genes. We can successfully deal with the hand we've been dealt. Yes, our genes are important, but not as important for some diseases as you may think. Genes only account for about 10 to 20% of our causes for mortality and chronic disease. Now, please remember during all these sessions that our focus is always to strengthen ourselves through a healthy, plant-based lifestyle. After the session, do go back to those questions for reflection and discussion. Do think about them as you continue to eat more plant-based meals every single day and take the risk of feeling fabulous.
Every year, scientists learn more about genetics, but we certainly don't know everything yet. Discussing genetics and our health status is similar to the classic nature versus nurture debate. Genetics and lifestyle both matter. This includes what we eat and drink, how much we exercise, and our state of mind. We cannot attribute or blame genetics for everything and simply believe it's all just a luck of the draw. We do have some level of choice and decision-making. Genes don't change in a few decades. It takes time for the genetic structure of humans to change in permanent ways. Yes, we're at the mercy of some impact from our genes, but our lifestyle is hugely important. We cannot ignore the choices we make on a daily, perhaps minute-by-minute basis. We have overwhelmingly changed our diets in the past 50 years with overwhelmingly clear results. High cancer rates and other chronic disease rates are not simply the effect of new genes. At most, cancer is initiated by our genetic makeup. How it is promoted and expressed is often up to us. Everyone's body experiences cancer differently, even people with the same cancer, due to our genetic makeup and our lifestyle. Do you remember when we talked about the blue zones back in the heart diseases presentation? The blue zones are special places in the world where people outlive expectations due to their lifestyle and culture. People in the blue zones, and many of the rest of us across the globe, have reduced our risk for cancer due to how we live our daily lives by eating a vegan, plant-based foods, exercising daily, keeping stress at a low level, and maintaining close bonds with others. How we decide to live with what we've been given is the key. Most everyone we know among our network of family and friends has had a brush with breast cancer of some sort. It's become very common. If detected early and with good care and lifestyle changes, many women often survive and thrive. This is Dr. Campbell's specialty, and his lifetime body of work has centered on nutrition and cancer. Please read his book, The China Study, for more information. Estrogen levels are critical determinants of breast cancer. The more exposure to estrogen women have, the more risk of breast cancer. Traditionally, Chinese women start menstruation and get their periods at age 17, then go through menopause at age 48. American women typically start menstruation at age 11 and a half and go through menopause at age 52. Women in America are exposed to more estrogen. The difference is 11 years of estrogen exposure. Traditionally, Chinese women did not have high rates of breast cancer. In the past 30-plus years, Japanese and Taiwanese women have doubled their mortality death rates due to breast cancer, and this is due to an increasingly Western-style diet. That is the SAD, the standard American diet. Epidemiological studies show soy, a phytoestrogen, and phyto just means plant, so simply a plant-based form of estrogen. Soy intake is linked to reduced risk of breast, colon, and prostate cancer. Women with breast cancer have reduced risk of reoccurrence and death with regular soy intake. The China study, remember the largest health study of its kind in the world, indicates blood plasma cholesterol levels is also positively associated with breast and other cancers. Well, we know how to reduce blood cholesterol levels to eat more plants and exercise. Prostate cancer is the second most common cancer among men. Other than skin cancer, prostate cancer is the most common cancer in American men. The American Cancer Society estimates that 1 in 7 men in the U.S. will be diagnosed with prostate cancer during their lifetime. Prostate cancer occurs mainly in older men. About 6 cases in 10 are diagnosed in men age 65 and older, and it's rare before age 40. Prostate cancer is the second leading cause of cancer death in American men, behind only lung cancer. About 1 man in 38 will die of prostate cancer. Alternatively, only 1 out of 100,000 Chinese men are diagnosed, which reflects the lowest advanced prostate cancer rates in the world. While scientists don't know all the triggers for prostate cancer, they do know that daily meat consumption triples the rate of prostate enlargement, and high levels of testosterone triggers prostate cancer. Testosterone production is accelerated with a high animal protein diet. Dr. Campbell wrote about 2 studies which tracked 68,000 men. The studies found that the men who ate the most fat, thus boosting their testosterone levels, had 79% more advanced prostate cancer than their plant-eating peers. The worst foods are red meat, mayonnaise, and butter. Vegetables contain healthy plant-based estrogens that help normalize the proportion or ratio of testosterone to estrogen in the body. Men and women have both estrogen and testosterone, so this is a good thing for all of us. Did you know that studies show that vegans' death rates due to cancer are half to 3/4 of the general population? All evidence points to a cancer prevention diet that is a colorful vegan diet that includes only minimal amounts of alcohol, regular exercise, and reduced stress. Let's take a look back now and talk briefly about cancer in the past 40 years. There really has been very little improvement in successful treatment rates over the past 40 years, despite aggressively attacking tumors with surgery, radiation, and/or chemotherapy. The biggest improvements in cancer treatment has been with childhood blood and lymphoma cancers, which represent only 10% of all cancers. Our focus is to strengthen our human body and remove cancer-causing and promoting elements. Remember, we all have inactivated cancer cells floating around in our bodies. We can do what Jessica did and make our bodies inhospitable to cancer and do everything we can to not activate those sleeping cancer cells. Okay, so this is what we can do to slow, reverse, or prevent cancer. Eat a whole food, plant-based diet full of fruit, veggies, grains, and legumes. Exercise a minimum of 150 minutes per week. Maintain a healthy weight. Stop eating meat. Stop eating animal dairy milk products. Increase healthy intestinal bacteria. Get plenty of sleep. Get outside. Exercise. Have fun. Some people call them miracles. Some people call them spontaneous remissions. Whatever you call it, becoming and staying cancer-free by eating a whole food, plant-based vegan diet does occur. There's a lot of evidence to substantiate that claim. The more plants we eat, the more fiber, antioxidants, and phytochemicals are working on our behalf. This is all about flow here. All the conditions we've talked about and many more could be helped by increased flow of blood and fluids. Each of us is a beautiful, wonderful, whole system of living tissues connected by blood, bones, muscles, and fluids. Like a highway system, if one area gets blocked, if the hoses aren't in good shape, if the electrical charges are messed up, a number of other areas are impacted. Our bodies are beautifully designed as whole systems. We can maintain ourselves with varying levels of effort and varying levels of results. We just need to be prepared for the consequences of our actions. A lot of it really is up to us. We can make the most of what we are given genetically or not. Well, that wraps up our conversation about the nutritional implications of cancer. To summarize and conclude, cancer is terrifying, and we can have some control over it. We all have uninitiated cancer cells lurking around in our body. What we do can have an impact on whether these cells become active or not through promotion and progression. Many cancers are known to be preventable. Animal-based protein fuels the growth of cancer. Doctors don't have adequate training in nutrition, yet many indicate they wish they did. Vegetables offer many protective qualities due to their fiber, phytochemicals, and antioxidants. Supplements aren't worth the expense and may even cause damage. Alcohol and smoking contribute to the risk of cancer. We're all influenced by our genetic makeup. How we play the hand we have dealt is key. Take the risk of feeling fabulous. Now, to step into action, eat more plants, play, exercise, and have fun. Get outside and enjoy yourself. Strengthen the bonds you have with those you care about. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I'm so grateful you and your family were here today learning more about the nutritional implications of cancer. There is a lot we can do. The next topics we will discuss are specifics regarding protein, carbs, sugar, salt, and fat. This will answer the big questions of, well, what do you eat? And where do you get your protein? As well as a host of other questions. Now, thank you again. Now go ahead, eat more plants, and take the risk of feeling fabulous. Thank you.